that's a nice sized fish.
Absolutely fantastic. Nice. Oh my goodness, that's the kind of fish that makes stickers out of.
Coming up on this new Fly Fisher Short, Tom Rosenbauer and Mark Melnyk are exploring the small streams of Chilean Patagonia. They're on the make for brown and rainbow trout. They're guests of Magic Waters Patagonia Lodge. Walk and wade for big trout? Excellent. Guiding us today is Yves Barrientos. This is going to be fun.
Tom, small creek fly fishing, there's some considerations that you really should keep in mind before you put your fly in the water for the first time. What do you do when you come to a small stream for the first time?
I kind of look at the water and, see how deep it is, what's the clarity, are there any bugs hatching, the fish might be surface feeding. But honestly, Mark, what I'll almost always do is put on a dry dropper.
Right.
Put on a fairly large dry fly and a nymph and set the dropper fairly shallow because the stream isn't very deep and start there. If I get more fish on the nymph, then I just stay with dry dropper. If the fish are really responding to the dry, then I'll take the nymph off. And you got to cover a lot of water. You do. In small streams, they're not going to be everywhere. They're probably not going to be behind us here in this shallow riffle, but they might be up there in that a little bit deeper pocket. So you got to keep moving and just explore.
Right. So two of the things that are important when you're first coming to a small stream is, number one is observation. Don't just jump in right away and start fishing. You got to watch and see what the river's telling you, what these fish are telling you. And number two is stealth. These fish, they live here. They know what shadows are supposed to be on the river at what time, and you have to be careful upon your approach. So stay back a bit, observe, and do what Tom says. You can't go wrong with that.
We each tie on a dry dropper rig, each with a chubby Chernobyl and Perdigon dropper, and step into the river.
Just a little fish, but look at that 3-weight bend. This is just so much fun with this little rod. Oh, little bit bigger one. Woo! Now, bigger fish, that little 3-weight handled it just fine. You can put a lot of pressure with a 3-weight rod. You can put a lot of pressure on a fish. You're not going to break the tippet. I've got a fairly light tippet on here. That's a beautiful fish. What kind of rod do you pick for a small stream? Well, you can actually use any rod. You can use your standard 9-foot 5-weight. I'm here at Magic Waters on a secret stream that I've never fished before. It's very small, it's clear, and I'm gonna have some fun today. My favorite small stream rod is this 7.5 for a 3-weight Helios. Now, it's a little windy today, and I've got a fairly big dry fly on, but I'm not gonna have to cast very far. This rod is so light, it's so much fun on even a small fish that I'm just gonna fish it because it's gonna be so much fun on a little stream like this. If I were in a big wide open river and I had to cast farther, I wouldn't pick this rod. But in small water like this rod will actually just cast the leader for a really tight, close-in cast. And I'm not gonna be casting over 20 feet today, so I'm gonna have some fun with this 7.5 for a 3-weight. It's got a brown trout, yeah. Oh, what a pretty brown. Look at the colors on that. Wow.
Tom's lighting it up on this creek, and I haven't seen a single bump. I make my way upstream to the confluence of the stream and a spring creek in hopes my luck will change.
We're fishing this little run at the bottom of a bit of a rapid here, and it looks like these fish are going to be stacked up here, so we're going to spend some time and weed our way through them and see what we can come up with. But small creek fishing in Patagonia, can't beat it. It is something special. They're getting better. That's a fat little guy. He's thick. dark fish. Thanks for playing. On the dry. This is so fun. You know, tiny little spring creek, little stealthy action, well-placed fly, and these brown trout have come to play today. This is new water for Magic Waters, so we're exploring, and I'd say that this place definitely has potential. So good. Oh, good fish. On the nymphs, small little split-tail copper john with a bead head, so it's getting down quickly. You've got to be quick in these deeper pools. You got to get down fast because you don't have much space for them. And so far, best fish of the day. Awesome, awesome brown trout. So here are the flies that I'm using on this. I've got a chubby Chernobyl, more like a beetle actually, here with a pink visual indicator so the angler can see it. And then about 12 to 14 inches below, I've got a flashback copper john with a split tail and a bead head.
There is nothing better than a light little rod like this in a small stream. It's just so much fun. Doesn't matter how big the fish are. We hope for a big one.
When the water's cold like this, keep in mind, this is springtime in Patagonia. We've got a lot of snow that's still coming off the mountains and the water's freezing. So when it's cold like this, you really need to pay attention to your dry. And what I mean by that is if there's ever any twitch or slight movement of your dry, chances are in this cold weather, cold water, it's a fish eating your nymph. They're very, very, very subtle. Their metabolism is super slow because the water's so cold. So when you're casting out, you need to keep your eyes on that dry the entire time. And anything that looks unnatural, just gently lift because chances are it's going to be a brown trout or a rainbow. Just like that. So this is when a roll cast comes in super handy. When you don't have a back cast, you've got to get your fly in through a small hole, do a roll cast, and it opens up a whole lot more water for you to present those flies in.
We decide to make our way upstream and come across an absolutely incredible waterfall.
So this looks cool.
Beautiful plunge pool.
How do you want to fish it?
Why don't we tag team it?
Okay.
You're left-handed, why don't you go over there and I'll fish this side and we'll maybe get a double.
Okay. Do me a favor, before I cross over, throw one up the chute.
Okay. So it's afternoon. Mark and I had an amazing morning on this secret little stream very close to Magic Waters Lodge. And we caught lots and lots and lots of fish, lots of action. Not any really big fish, maybe 14 inches, but we've just been having a ball. The only problem is that we're both fighting over this 7.5 foot 3-weight Helios because it's just the perfect rod for this, and it's so much fun catching those little fish on this rod. That's a nice little rainbow. When you're fishing a small, fast stream like we're fishing today, and you get a bend, there's almost always a good pool where the river changes direction. And the natural inclination is to try to throw your fly against a far bank where you know it's deeper. The problem is that often, particularly in a stream like this, that water is too fast over there and the fish just aren't gonna hold. And you're gonna find a lot more trout on this inside seam here in this slower water. Now you might catch a fish over there, but it's gonna be really difficult to get a fly down. And dry fly, they're not so inclined to come up through that faster water. So I would concentrate more on this inside slower water all the way down through the pool.
That's a better fish. Great fun on a 3-weight. We've had a fantastic morning fishing this creek, and I decided to put a hopper dropper out, and I was rewarded. Great rainbow out of a small glacial creek. Orvis hook just pops out. Awesome fish.
What do you think about that?
We fish the day away, releasing a bunch of rainbows and browns, head back to the lodge, and prepare to do it all again tomorrow. It's day 2 here in Chilean Patagonia. Yves wants to keep with the small stream program and suggests we hit a small stream just 5 minutes from the lodge. We walk into the mouth where this tributary enters a much larger river and plan to fish back upstream. Tom starts early and is off to a great start.
Netting a fish is always chaos. It never works the way you want it to. You try to get them in the net, but it's gonna be messy. It's gonna be messy, especially if you're landing a fish by yourself. The one thing is, once you get the fish in the net, both the angler and the fish can relax. Because you can see this big rainbow, you know, is moving around a little bit, but not thrashing, not splashing, still wet, still getting water in its gills, but it's just kind of chilling out there. And so you can chill and the fish can chill once you get them in the net. Nice.
Good job.
Nice brown.
With round?
I think so.
Okay, Tom, I'm gonna get him up so his head's to you, then I'm gonna back up
Okay.
and you can scoop him.
Okay.
Nice. All right, so as you saw there, when you're fishing with a friend, communication helps with telling him what you're gonna do in order to bring the fish to the net. So I told Tom that I was gonna back up once the fish's head was up, and then he was there to scoop it in perfectly. No, he's still there. Took it. Set.
Oh, that's a big fish. So I'm trying to keep this big fish out of the weeds. And I'm gonna use some side pressure here, but now I have to go the other way. And now I gotta lift up because there's weeds on the bottom, so I have to go.
Big rainbow.
Yeah, and it's wrapped around him too. Wrapped around her, there it goes. So now I'm gonna use side pressure here, I'm clear. And it's much easier to use side pressure to move that fish in the direction you want rather than going straight overhead. Now, when you get ready for the net, now I gotta use side pressure here. When you get ready for the net, then you wanna bring their head up. So I get about a rod's length of line out there, reach my hand back over my head, get the net in the water, and if I can get my short arms out there, there we go.
Nice fish.
Thank you for the spot, Mark. I
course.
didn't see that fish take the fly. We were about done, and I moved the dry fly indicator and the nymph moved and the fish took it. So you never know what's going to work.
We move upstream to a place well known by Yves to hold happy trout looking to eat dries. I tie on a parachute Adams and give it a try.
We've come up to this awesome section of river. As you can see, there's 2 foam lines that are running down below this log. We've been watching this pool for a minute or 2, and I've got 2 fish that are rising that I can see. The conundrum, the question is, do I fish my way up to where I know there's feeding fish, or do I go right for it? I think I'm gonna fish my way up and see if there's anything in the tail. If I do catch something down below, I'm gonna horse it out of the pool really quickly so as not to disturb anybody else. And then I'm gonna make my way up to where I think there's a big fish right by that log. Not as small as I thought it was gonna be. But again, we've got some debris that we need to negotiate here. I'm gonna pull this fish out of the pool, bring it down, so as not to disturb anything else that's up on top. But I also don't want him to get into this faster water. So, nice brown trout on a dry. Love it. But I still know there's a bigger fish feeding up there. And it's back to the pool. All right, let me show you the fly that caught that fish. This is a size 14 parachute Adams, one of the staples that every dry fly angler should have in their box. They imitate so many different bugs, and fish just plain eat them. So Yves, see that hole right there under the lupin? I put a cast in, it got caught on one of the pieces of lupin, and the fly was just touching the water. He came up and ate it, but I missed him. Yes. And about 25 casts later, I was able to put it right in the hole. Boom, he ate it. So, small creeks in Patagonia often yield great rewards. How do you like that? What a fish on a dry fly is perfect.
Where you have a confluence of 2 currents is always a good place. So we have a side channel up here coming into the main current. There's a nice foam line down the middle. Yves has said this is where he usually sees fish rising. And we've seen a couple rise in here right in that foam line, pegged to that foam line, which is where you're gonna find the fish. That's where the food is. So they're not really steadily rising, none of them. So what I'm gonna do is carefully work up that foam line with a dry fly and just hope that I can interest a fish to the dry. Oh, don't go up there. I don't want you spooking the pool. I had to change tactics. The fish were rising irregularly and they got a couple refusals, and so put on a big dry, hung a nymph from it. Yves said it would take 1 cast to catch a fish. It took 2. Strong fish. Ooh. Whoa. Frisky fish. I switched tactics. Yeah, I couldn't get a fish on a dry, so I decided to try a nymph in there. This looks like such a perfect nymph run. Try to get downstream of this fish a little bit, get them upstream me, make them fight the current, and when they get downstream of you, the hook often pulls out. Oh, I think she is ready. Beautiful net job, thank you. Another fish just swooped out of the bank there.
Really, where I stepped?
Yeah, where you stepped.
This whole pool is really complex, and there's all kinds of ways to fish it. And I went through firstly with a dry and a dropper and do anything. Switched it to a worm because, you know, that's what they're eating with all this rain. Didn't do anything, and now went to something to get an aggressive take and a streamer, and I got this nice little rainbow right in the back of the pool. But I know there's big ones in here for sure. Thanks, bud.
This is a pool that I've fished before and caught lots of fish in it. And when we first got here, we didn't catch anything. And it's like, sometimes it's a 20 fish pool here at Magic Waters, kind of a secret little pool. So what I decided to do is put on a really, really long dropper and a big double tungsten stonefly so that I could get down in this faster water. And yeah, Euro nymphing probably would have worked, but I prefer to fish dry dropper. So I just added a really long dropper, tried to keep my fly line off the water, tried to just have a straight line to the indicator, and then led it through those pockets. And it worked for a few fish. Just when you think you know something about fishing, the fish make a fool out of you. The water's running kind of fast here, but I figured the best water would be up here. I ignored that water down the tail. It looked like it was running too fast. Not only that, I was throwing my nymph upstream, dead drift, like you're supposed to, and as the fly came around way behind me, in fact, I think I was starting to move to another spot, the fly was just hanging in the current, and this big rainbow took it. Never rule out places or methods or flies, because the trout are going to make a fool out of you as soon as you think you know something.
What a way to end the day. Tomorrow we're off to hit some of the small lakes in the area for aggressive topwater trout.
I got a question for you, Mr. Rosenbauer.
Yeah.
Would you like some wind with your brown trout?
It's Patagonia, Mark.
It is. So I noticed that you left the 3-weight at home.
Yeah, today.
Yeah, it's a little crazy. What do you recommend for anglers that are coming to a place that's windy like this, especially on a day like today?
Yeah, shorter, heavier tippet. You know, I think the water's a little dirty. We can get away with a heavier tippet. Shorter leader, you know, 7.5 to 9 feet. You know, 3X tippet maybe, because we're going to be fishing big dries and nymphs. Yeah, you got to shorten things up and keep your cast short.
Right.
You know, you don't want to try to boom out a long cast. The wind's going to take it where you don't want it to go.
Right. So I've been fishing with a 5-weight all week, and I'm actually going to bump mine up to a 6 because of the wind.
Yeah.
Not because we're casting big flies, but because the backbone of the 6 will cut that wind a little better than a 5.
Yeah, you got a little more mass in your line.
Right.
Right.
Right. Well, there's brown trout in this creek. Let's go see if we can meet some of them.
I'm happy to do that. This morning, we really struggled on this same creek, and the water temperature was about 44 degrees, pretty cold for trout. So we waited a little bit, came up a little bit higher, and the water temperature's gone up just a few degrees to like the, 46, 47. But I sat down here in this pool and hooked 3 fish in a row. So just a little bit of increase in water temperature can really make a difference in your success. Most people, I don't think, put enough pressure on a trout when they're fighting it. I mean, with modern tippets, this is 4X on here, I can really put pressure on this fish. I'm not doing it right now, but it's really hard to break a fish off. You might pull the hook out of their mouth, but you can put a lot of pressure on a fish, with a flexible rod. You can really lead that fish around to wherever you want it to go. And people just don't use their rods. They don't use the shock absorbing power of their rods the way they should. Because you can see, I can really steer this halfway decent fish around here. Whoa! That was a strike. Boy, these fish have gotten really active.
Oh, you think?
Yeah, I think. Man, what's that, like number 6? Question I get all the time is, if I catch one fish from a pool, does that spook the rest of the fish? Should I move on? And the answer is sometimes, but not always. And if you catch a fish out of a pool, it's a good place. You should try it for a number of subsequent casts, because I have been sitting here on the bank and have, I think, hooked 7 or 8 brown trout without moving. So all from the same place. So it doesn't, fish fighting doesn't necessarily spook the pool. Hang around for a while and see if you can get some other ones out of the same spot.
I've been struggling all day here today in Chile. And that's what happens sometimes. The weather's changed, whether it's angler error or barometric pressure or not holding my tongue right in my mouth. I don't know. But the secret to any sort of success is, if something's not working, just change it. So Yves said, let's go for a search pattern. Let's put a streamer on. 5 minutes in, moved a fish, got one to eat. So we're gonna continue with a cone-headed black flash streamer and see if we can get some of these big trout to come up and respond. The skunk is off my back for now. Get this guy in the net, we can take a look at him.
Great little small stream brown trout.
Got him. Keep him out of that undercut bank. Bring him up so I can grab the leader. On a small stream in Chile. Oh, grow up and get big, bud. Grow up and get big. That's the one.
Nice.
Good fish. Woo! What a way to end the day at Magic Waters Patagonia Lodge. I've got to go. Yeah. And take care of some personal business. Tom's gonna keep fishing. So this is my last pool of the day. Oh, what a great brown trout. They are here, and you know what? If you put your time in and you try different techniques, don't give up, you'll see success. All right, Yves, I think he's ready. Good fish. A lot of people are gonna think that, using something like a squirmy worm or a San Juan worm isn't fly fishing, but isn't fly fishing all about matching the hatch and feeding the fish what they would be eating naturally? We've had nothing but rain here at Magic Waters for the last number of days. The rivers are swollen and these worms are being washed down the river. That's what they're eating. So, it doesn't make a difference what it is. Match the hatch to catch big fish here in Patagonia.
Yeah, good one. Over on that shallow shelf over there. Now, I'm playing this fish. I'm trying to use side pressure to get him away from that log, and I only have 5X tippet on. It's pretty light, so I'm gonna try to slide the fish into this calmer water here and keep him away from the snags. This fish definitely wants to go back where he came from. Surprised he didn't want to go down into that log. Come on, come on. No, you don't. Don't go that way. That's it, right in here in this calm water. And notice I haven't used my reel at all. The fish hasn't really run, so I don't need to use my reel. Slide the rod back over my shoulder, and there he is.
Ooh, good one.
Whoa. So I don't have many snags in here, so I can use side pressure on this fish and then I have to lift up a little bit when it gets near this bank because there's some snags in here. But you can steer a fish like this much easier by using side pressure rather than overhead pressure, because the fish doesn't want to lift its head up. Yet when you go down and to the side, you can steer the fish and control it. They don't want their head to come up. That's the best way to tire a fish out. See how I can lead that fish right upstream and then lift his head when I'm ready to net him. And then just lean the rod back. Netting a fish is always messy.